Hi everyone, and welcome to video 5 of the 8-part video series on understanding painful emotions. My name is Renee Zaia. I'm a relationship and life coach, helping people to make the move to create relationships they really thrive in. So today's video is about hurt and understanding hurt. So if you're new to the video series, welcome. It's great to have you here. And if you're already a fan, welcome back. So let's get right into it. So in today's video on hurt, we'll be looking at the scale of hurt-based emotions under this umbrella. We'll look at the positive purpose of hurt and also the negative impacts. So hurt is one of the 6 umbrellas of painful emotions, along with anger, fear, sadness, shame, and guilt. So what is hurt? Hurt is a painful feeling caused by someone's words or actions. Hurt is an action by another person and can include things such as being dismissed, ignored, being betrayed or lied to, being let down, criticised, judged, and ultimately rejected or abandoned. Some of these actions can also trigger other emotions such as fear, sadness, and anger as well. So it's quite common to experience a range of emotions based on a single event. So just a reminder about where painful emotions come from. So as humans, we're a bit like trees, all in a big forest. Our root structure is inherently the same, but the contents are actually a little bit different. So we have our past. So our past includes positive and negative experiences. And for some people, that includes things like trauma. Those then influence our limiting beliefs. So limiting beliefs are basically an absolute and negative statement that we believe. So we might not even be aware that we believe them because most of them live in the subconscious mind. But it can include things like when people say things like money doesn't grow on trees, or they'll never meet their soulmate, or they'll never have that dream career. So that's an example, or a couple of examples of limiting beliefs. We also have our personality. So as humans, we're highly adaptable. And as we go through life and we adapt, we often create personality traits or managers or even archetypes. And they might look like things like being the rescuer or the victim or the hero or the fixer, and sometimes even the wounded child. And there's no judgment attached to that. That's just us as humans about how we adapt. And equally, those behavioural traits can be changed as well. We also have our central nervous system. So we are biochemically wired for survival. We have our brain, we have our nerves, and the brain and the nerves communicate with the endocrine system, which is all about our glands. So for example, you might have a thought, the brain sends then a signal to the adrenal glands, which sit on top of the kidneys, telling the adrenal glands to pump adrenaline, which is a stress hormone. But we also have our thoughts. What you might not know is that only 5% of thoughts come from the conscious mind, even though it feels like we're constantly thinking all day. And we do have, between 70 and 100,000 thoughts per day. But 95% of those are in the subconscious mind, and most of them are actually negative because we're actually wired for survival. Now, this is an important thing to note because when we experience emotion, we will often feel it before we have a thought about it, okay? Because the subconscious mind is lightning fast because it is protective. So there's not a lot of hope in using a conscious thought to get out ahead of an emotion, which is why I teach how to master your emotions in other ways. But coming back to the tree, we then have an event. And when it comes to hurt, it could be a range of things that I mentioned earlier, being betrayed, abandoned, rejected, things like that, being let down. And once we have that event, we have the emotions of hurt, but we can also have other emotions like sadness or fear, and they manifest in real physical symptoms. So when we're feeling hurt, we feel it in our bodies, mostly in the chest space or the heart chakra space. And we'll come to those physical symptoms in a bit more detail a bit later. So let's look at the umbrella of hurt as the painful emotion. So this is an indicative scale of the range of feelings that occur under the umbrella of hurt. So it's not absolute, it's based on my perception or my views on these different emotions. And you might have a differing view, and that's completely fine. So just keep an open mind. But the intention here is to communicate that there is a scale of hurt. It might start with really mild hurtful feelings, like feeling let down, disappointed, but then we'll start to escalate depending on the event and all the different parts of our tree root system that make us up, to feelings of abandonment, being rejected, and ultimately heartbroken. So that's the umbrella of hurt. But there are positive purposes of hurt. So when we feel hurt, it can indicate that our expectations of others based on our standards, values, and morals have been breached. It can also indicate what behaviours we are willing or unwilling to accept from others. It reminds us of how we want to be treated and can compel us to raise our standards if we've been treated poorly. So when we feel hurt, it's a good indicator, which is why all painful emotions are part of our internal guidance system. They're there to communicate with us, to tell us that maybe we need to review something or adjust something. And when it comes to being treated poorly by others, it's really important for us to communicate our standards of how we want to be treated. None of us are mind readers, and it's really important to communicate your standards of what treatment you're willing to accept. There are some painful impacts though when it comes to hurt. So from a physical perspective, it's very similar to the emotion of sadness. So under traditional Chinese medicine, it can affect things like the lungs, which are, about sadness as well, and also the large intestine, skin conditions. It can also impact the heart itself and also upper body posture. So people who have experienced a lot of hurt tend to have a collapsed shoulder structure because they're actually being quite unconsciously protective of their heart space. So that might be something you notice either in yourself or others. It can be an indicator. It could also be an indicator that you're just typing too much on a computer as well. So it's not always an indicator of hurt, but it can be. From a mental health perspective, hurt can escalate to depression, even though depression is technically part of the sadness umbrella. And it can also create a fearful mindset as well. So when we have been hurt, we can become quite protective and quite fearful of certain people, events, and situations. From a relationship perspective, hurt may cause us to withdraw socially and also isolate ourselves. We may become unwilling to trust others because we may have been hurt or betrayed. And there's a tendency to put up emotional walls and barriers, which means we're not always being our most authentic and true self. From a behaviour perspective, hurt can manifest in terms of addictions to substances or even numbing behaviours such as watching too much TV or anything that you do to distract yourself. And we can also, from a behaviour perspective, withdraw from social participation as well. So in summary, hurt reminds us what matters to us, what behaviours we are willing to accept from others, and whether we need to adjust our standards in terms of treatment. It can compel us to raise our standards if we've been treated poorly, and hurt can have physical, mental, relationship, and behavioural impacts. Ultimately, if left untreated, it has the potential to escalate to depression as well. But if you've been experiencing hurt or some of those other emotions related to hurt, like rejection, abandonment, being disappointed, and you need some further help, do speak to a professional therapist, life coach, counsellor, holistic wellness practitioner, or you can contact Beyond Blue for further support and help as well. So that was hurt. In the next video, we're going to be examining the painful emotion of shame. So I hope you've enjoyed that video, and I'd really love to know your thoughts in the comments, or any questions you might have. You can send them to me privately on Messenger if you prefer. I hope that you've enjoyed today and you got something out of this, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Take care now.